We have a friend swinging by today to take a look at our batteries and our inverter. He knows a lot, and I'm really excited to see what he has to say. So today's goals is I want to have Derek take a look at the system and kind of revamp it. Now we're walking into this blindly, and we're going to be paying for all these expenses out of pocket. To give you a little more context of what's going on, Renee and I were the ones who install all these lithium batteries in our inverter ourselves. However, it doesn't look professional by any means. So maybe we could get it cleaned up a little bit. Maybe we could get things working a little more efficiently for us. And maybe we can get off grid and just encourage ourselves that it doesn't have to be a bigger headache than what we make it out to be. Derek, I have the craziest thing I'm gonna have to ask you to do. You gotta be completely honest with me. Objectively, I want you to rip into me like no tomorrow. Don't hold back. Let's just walk through this piece by piece and tell me exactly where I went wrong, things you would not ever do yourself.
I mean, the first thing it jumps out is no fuses. So, I mean, if there's ever positive and negative cross, like the fuse is gonna blow instead of like melting the cable.
Did I make a bad decision by doing this bus bar here?
That's better than trying to stack all these on the batteries. I've used cable like this before. It is definitely not high quality cable. I mean, other than that, it's really not all that bad. It just could be cleaned up a little bit. You know, the wires could be managed. I mean, it looks like your cable link's all right.
What is the first thing looking at the system? What do you just recommend?
I mean, I'd really like to just switch this out for a Lynx distributor because I would have your fuse holders built into it.
So a Lynx distributor would be basically the same bus bar with built-in inline fuses.
And you were mentioning something about a Victron inverter versus this inverter.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts?
Everybody calls them 3,000 watt inverters. They're really 3,000 VA, which is volt amps. In layman's terms, that means it can do 2,400 watts all day long. It can only do 3,000 watts for short periods.
Inverter charger, okay.
So this whole setup you got here is not needed no more. There's no like plugging in the converter, unplugging the converter. You
Really?
just plug into shore power. Shore power works. You unplug from shore power, the inverter has power. So like your microwave's never gonna need the clock reset. That's like some wives' like biggest thing when I put a solar system in. It's like, oh, I'm never gonna have to reset the clock again.
Dude, that is such our problem. We always do that. Every time the power went off, I'm like, I gotta reset the clock in the microwave.
It actually bothers you more than me.
It does.
It's just more user friendly. You know, this is just an inverter. So I mean, all this does is output power, where the Victron inverter charger is also your battery charger.
So when we're pulled over for a break, I can just turn the Keurig on and make a cup of coffee.
Yep. I mean, you could even start the air conditioner like 10 minutes before you stop.
So we would literally
So it's
only
essentially taking these two out and putting one
and combining
one
them.
device. I mean, it would be nice to have some kind of solar that works all the time. I can get like a 400 watt panel for almost the exact same cost as a 250 watt panel.
Whatever decision we make, we're just paying out of pocket with you. So I just want to make sure we run through all the expenses and kind of how much individually each piece is going to cost us and set us back. But I mean, it sounds like a good investment, you know what I mean? And I want to do this the right way because we really enjoy getting off grid and boondocking, and I know you guys boondock all the time, you and your family.
Yeah, we live our life that way about 95% of the time.
So you did mention we should do a inverter and charger. Roughly ballpark, how much is that going to cost?
It's around $1,000.
$1,000.
With the fuses, and if you put the cutoff switch with it, because you guys really need a cutoff switch, I mean, you'd have about $250.
$250.
You know, since you got the roof space for them, if you can fit 400 watt panels, that's definitely going to be the way to go.
Okay,
so
let's
that's
say
what I
like,
recommend up there.
what do you think, like 2 400 watt panels?
Panels
roughly?
are about $315 each. You need a solar controller, $380, I think is what
$380 is what we'll do. $2,200 for all this. Just roughly, you know what I mean? Just going into this, I think we're pretty comfortable with that. Our goal is just to like work with what we have today. So we're gonna keep with the 2 lithium batteries and we'll just kind of bite off a little bit more and just add on and we'll just see where this takes us. My man, you're getting us in there.
Man.
Let's do it.
The reason I've been so opposed to us getting them is because of weight, but the fact that they're so light and they're just like, you set it and forget it on your roof is so nice.
Time to tear it all down. We're taking it all down. So there has to be like a lot of advice out there about solar and batteries, right? But what is like some advice that is absolutely dead wrong, but so many people believe it yet?
There's a lot of people that say you have to do a 48 volt system to run an air conditioner. You don't have to do 48 volts to run an air conditioner. A properly built 12 volt system will run an air conditioner just fine. As I was kind of mentioning earlier, when you get up to the higher voltage, DC voltage, that's where it gets more dangerous. If you do make a mistake and accidentally touch a positive to a negative on a 48 volt system, that's going to explode. I mean, it's going to be like an explosion. Here, so we don't have a live cable floating around.
When it comes to like solar and batteries, like what's one thing that people obsess over for absolutely no reason that doesn't really make a difference?
Some people thinking they should never run their battery bank below like 40 or 50%. With lithium, if you're only going to keep it at 50% or above, you might as well spend half the money.
If you're going to do that, you might as well just stay with like an AGM battery or something like that. It's just like pointless.
You just spend a lot of money, you know, especially people that have like 1,000 amp hours. They spent like $5,000 on batteries, and like you're really only using $2,500 of it.
Like, what is one thing you just see over and over again and you're like, man, I just wish people would just talk to me about this?
Whether or not they should get solar from the manufacturer. You want more than what the manufacturer is offering, just opt out of it completely. Sometimes they try to push you like a Power Plus package, where it'll be another solar panel.
From the factory.
It may be like a 2,000 watt inverter or something, but that 2,000 watt inverter is not going to run your air conditioner. I really steer people away from the 2,000 watt inverters because there's not enough money saving. Install is going to be the same, you know, labor's going to be the same.
Right,
so, like,
you might as well, okay.
So why save,
Fair.
you know, $150, $200 and not be able to run everything? Say goodbye.
She served us well. We didn't do too bad for a couple rookies. I'm going to say that. I wouldn't say this is overwhelming by any means, but mostly we're just making our system work with the best that we have. And it's so easy hanging out with Derek to be like, I want to go all out and get 6 batteries and, you know, multiple inverters and the whole roof covered with solar.
Some people that spent way more money than what they needed to, and they've never used their system.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong. When you say we have a 2,000 watt inverter and you'd be like, I want to necessarily want to talking want to get in 2,000, I'd rather tell them get a 3,000. What that kind of reminds me of is if somebody's like, should I get a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton? You would basically be like, well, if you're going to spend the money, maybe just spend a little extra, get the 1 ton. That way, if you want to go later on and add more stuff, you're not having to bite the bullet and go back and repurchase the
And that's kind of the thing with the inverter.
Yeah.
Because I mean, more solar and more batteries can easily be added, but to do a bigger inverter or to add a second one, there can be a lot of wasted money. Even if that means like one less battery at the time because you're spending more money on the inverter, you know, and worry about that battery the next year when the budget allows for it.
Explain to me in layman's terms, difference between an inverter and a converter, how this is different than what you're going to be installing here in just a few minutes.
The inverter takes DC voltage and creates AC voltage. So typically for most people it's taking 12 volts and creating 120 volts.
So that you can run things like a microwave or an air conditioner.
A converter is the opposite. It's taking 120 volt, you know, shore power, turning it into DC voltage to charge batteries.
They're like those weird cousins, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
right.
They're just doing opposite jobs. Okay.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Cool.
An inverter charger is essentially both those in one. Different cutoff switches I use depending on the system.
Yeah.
You know, I could just make a cable between them, but then it's just one more cable to make, one more spot of resistance, one more spot to possibly loosen up.
Well, with this resistance causes more stress, more strain, more heat, more...
Yeah, I mean, it causes voltage drop. That's why, like, it burns out appliances if you have low voltage from shore power.
Yeah.
So, like, your dish network boxes and little, that's got real thin wiring, can't handle that amp increase. So that's how it'll burn stuff out. Just like so.
I feel like we're on a home improvement show.
Nobody watches TV like that.
I know. It's so true. So what we're doing right now is we have to do a makeshift, is this a 4/0? Consider 4/0 cable. Look at the size of this crimper.
Wow. This one right here to be specific.
Dude, that is legit. How do you know when you got a good crimp?
It'll hit a bypass. See, now there's nothing there. That's when you know it's crimped all the way down.
That's crazy.
Building a 12 volt system, if you want the cables to be cool and not give off heat, you gotta size them properly.
So with this thicker wire, obviously it's gonna be cooler. It's gonna run cooler, not as much resistance.
Right, exactly.
And the shorter the wire as well, the less resistance. Because if it has to travel forever, it's gonna build up that resistance.
right.
Okay.
So that means like between the batteries, but that also means like off the positive, through the catastrophic fuse, through the cutoff switch. That's all distance. So you got to factor that in, because over here on the negative side, all we got is the shunt.
Top of it.
That's crazy. And that's like the absolute least amount of resistance you can possibly get out of a connection.
I mean, this is just a fuse holder. It's an
Okay.
A&L fuse holder, but this is going to be your catastrophic fuse.
Yeah, these things are so dirty. They look like brand new batteries now.
Yeah, they look good.
They're very nice.
It just feels like it's like locked or something.
I gotcha. That's how you do it. Boy, this ended up being a project and a half, to say the least. Wire everything up, so we're getting there slowly but surely, but we're about to call it a night, grab some food, get some rest. We'll see you guys in the morning. We're jumping right into it today. Got to empty out this pass-through storage so that we can have access behind this paneling for installing the solar and all the wiring. It's a humble reminder that, yep, it's there waiting for us. Is like man's best friend with the RV. So we're having to finagle these guide wires to give us some kind of an idea of where we're heading. The goal is the back of the breaker box. This is some thick wire. Not too bad. Can't wait to see how the solar wiring from the roof goes. One crisis at a time.
For anyone who's watching who's in the medical field, especially you ICU nurses, you're gonna love this. So Derek is using something called a fish wire, which is this, and it's basically the electrical version of a guide wire. So just like when you have to insert a central line into patients through the jugular or the subclavian vein, you would use a guide wire to get inside to thread the catheter. He can snake this through really tight spots of the RV, so that way he can tape the electrical cords to and feed it through the system. Who would have thought RV solar installs and central line placements had anything in common, but hey, here we are.
I don't know, let me see how much I got, just a second.
Dang, this part seems intense, but it was the part that I've always wondered how it works. This seems like very complicated, this part.
Yep.
All right, what we got here is an electrical panel. A lot of these wire, I don't know what I'm talking about. So that green back there that you see right there?
Yeah.
At the back, that's the back of the shower. You're hitting the bottom. Yeah, okay, hold on. I kind of see.
You know, the more we dig into this and go through this project, the more I am so grateful we did not try to tackle something like this ourselves.
We failed at going from the bottom up, so we're gonna go the top down.
Do you need me to grab one?
It's like a game of cat and mouse. Hold it right there. A lot of finessing. Wow. Found access here, and then it led to nowhere. We ended up accessing over here, which is the black tank, like the vent pipe. So we're gonna kind of skirt down around that vent pipe. At least we know where that goes. Waterproof.
It's waterproof, so we'll just seal around it and that'll be good to go.
400 watts.
800 altogether.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap up today's bit of work.
We're losing daylight.
Still much to do, but we'll pick the story up tomorrow.
Well, a bright, beautiful good morning. We're getting some of the last minute things touched up here. I think he's onto the wiring, so we're just about there. Like with any project, there is just stuff everywhere. Tools, leftover supplies. It looks like a mess right now, but don't worry. I think this is gonna clean up really nicely. Look at the size of these wires though. Oh my goodness. They're huge. Derek just showed me this really cool app that shows you the positioning of the sun, and look at this.
I mean, the sun's right there. And
That's crazy.
shows where it's at on there. And then you can follow the whole path for the whole day.
And basically what you're looking to do is position the orientation of your RV according to the path of the sun, so you have as much sun exposure as you can. And it's a free app, so can't beat that. Never seen these connections before, but I guess these are our solar panel connections. And I just gotta be careful not to step on this now. Oh, real quick, did you get the pricing on everything? What kind of damage did we do here? This is the actual inverter slash charger, right?
Yep.
Tron 150, MPPT, what is that?
That's the solar controller.
The links distributor and fuses.
The Servo GX and the Touch 50 display gives the system the ability to connect to the internet for remote viewing.
Like if we get out in the middle of the desert and I do have signal, I could call you and you can tap into our system?
Yep, so I can, as long as you got internet to it somehow, whether it's through a hotspot on a phone, Starlink.
Get out, are you serious?
I can see everything remotely, so I can
that's awesome.
I can do firmware updates, I can do programming changes. That's there's two separate costs here. The display's about $200 and the Servo's about $250. I just rolled together in $450.
Okay, so we got 2 panels up there. We got 2 400-watt panels, so total of 800 watts and solar panels.
$315 each, so you got $630 into those 2 panels.
Okay, so we're at a total of $2,895 today. I actually didn't think it was, I thought it was gonna be more. I don't think that's too bad. We walked into this expecting it was gonna be something around that. I hope we recoup our expenses pretty quickly because you guys do boondocking all the time. You think we'll make a good return on our money quickly?
Yeah, I mean, if you cut out the RV parks, I mean, you figure at minimum you're spending $40 a night on an RV site.
What are we spending here right now? Like 50-ish, I would say?
Yeah, it was $99 for the 2 nights.
So about 50 a night?
50 a night.
Hey Siri, what's $28.95 divided by 50? 57 nights. 3 months of boondocking?
1 night a week.
Yeah.
More than 1 night a week.
Dude, that's not bad at all. Well, I think we are officially done. I can't wait for you guys to see this. We're gonna tackle this one together.
Look how cool this looks. I'm digging the blue. To run through everything after it's like all installed, what is each component?
Pretty obvious. You got your 2 lithium batteries that you guys originally had still here. 210 amp hours technically, because these are 105 each. Comes from here. And it goes on the positive side, goes through the catastrophic fuse. So it's just kind of your main heavy fuse. It's a 400 amp fuse. Goes from there to the cutoff switch. I mean, that's gonna give you the ability to like kill all your power draw. So if you were storing it, I mean, full timers don't use this as much unless you're like working on things and need to shut the power down. But people are weekenders, they're shutting their RVs down a lot and you want to kill all your power draws. That's what this is for.
So if we're ever getting work on our rig in the future and someone says kill your battery, disconnect, we would turn that to off.
That's done there. On the negative side, you got the shunt. So that's what this is. That gives you your battery percentage and battery info. So both of these go into essentially a positive and negative bus bar. That's what this links distributor is. But then there's fuse holders on each positive line, which is what makes this so nice, and that's what you guys were really lacking before, is you had no fuses on anything. You had no catastrophic fuse, you had no fuse for the inverter, no fuse for the little solar controller, you had no fuse for your converter. Catastrophic
fuses here. Is this like overkill?
No.
No.
Definitely not overkill.
Okay, so before we were riding the line of being a little bit on the dangerous side, would you say?
Yeah, you really had no protection. The only way like a short or something would have stopped is if the cable literally melted off and broke, would have been the only way it would have stopped before.
That's fair. That's fair.
So you got your solar controller here. Over here is your solar disconnect. So this is how you would shut your solar down. Plus it's a breaker, so it's also providing your circuit protection. So this is obviously your inverter charger here.
The mothership.
So the big heavy cables provides the DC input, but then also are the cables that provide the charging to the batteries if it's in charger mode.
Bulk absorption float, what does that mean?
I mean, those are charge cycles. The easiest way I understood it was somebody explained it like you're filling a glass of water, so bulk charging is like you're filling the glass, you're pouring and you're pouring and pouring and pouring. Absorption's like the glass is getting close, you're close to the top, so you're like slowing down, you're just pouring in a little bit just to fill it to the top, and float is like you're right at the rim, so you stop pouring because it's full.
So this will like slow down according to how full the batteries are. So if it's bulk, it gets up to like 80, 90%, and then it slows down to absorption, and then float was kind of just like putting a little floater on top of a drink, basically.
So right now we're fully charged because...
Fully charged and balanced because it's been through an absorption cycle.
Okay, are we okay for this next part if we actually unplug from shore power and see what happens?
Yeah, definitely, shut her down.
I'm kind of nervous because one of our ACs is running, our fridge is running. All right, power's going off. We're gonna see what this bad boy does.
So we didn't lose power even for a split second. It was quicker.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a TV on the side, it'd still be on.
The TV wouldn't even lapse.
Nope.
That's why you said you never have to do the clock on the microwave again, because immediately when you lose power, we're just switching right over to the system.
So I mean, you got all your system info here. So the top 2 boxes are the inverter info, which this is just a picture of the inverter there, which it says that it's inverting right now. If you're plugged into shore power, it would say bulk absorption float there. Over here in the green box, that's your AC load, so alternating line current loads. So that's what you're using in 120 volt power right now.
Yeah, so we do have the soft start installed on both ACs. This was already running before we killed the power, so obviously it's still running and it's running efficiently right now.
Yep,
So.
left corner is the battery info. So that's your battery percentage.
For both batteries, correct?
For both batteries,
okay.
Yep. So I mean, if you had 100 batteries, that would be all 100 batteries.
What's this little yellow guy down here?
And the yellow one says PV charger, so that's your solar. So right now, out of your 800 watts, you're getting 530 watts, which isn't too bad, honestly.
Is this, according to this diagram, I see dots coming off both bottom ends. Are they combining and then going to the inverter?
Right. Yep. So I mean, all the power from the solar is combining with whatever it's pulling out of the batteries to go to the inverter to power AC loads. The battery monitor or your shunt.
Okay.
It'll give you a time to go.
Oh, wow.
It's somewhat hard to trust when the sun's out because solar's changing so much, you know.
Okay.
But that's about what I expect. I mean, an air conditioner running burns about 100 amp hours of lithium batteries in an hour.
So technically only 2 hours.
So you get about 2 hours, you know. And again, like ideally that's going to shut off when it gets to temperature and like extend that. But yeah, I mean, a 200 amp hour system with 800 watts is not meant for long-term air conditioner use.
I'm impressed that we have that much time. I thought with our 2 batteries, it was going to say 10 minutes. It's almost like you have to pretend you're at an RV park with like 30 amp for a 50 amp rig, because we do
in
that.
the setup you got.
Okay.
Right, yep. Yeah, it went even lower now because the fan went off, so you dropped even 2 more watts.
So we're up to over 2,000.
So you can see the microwave's about 1,500 watts, which is what I would expect. I mean, that's what
You're saying max? What are we looking at for like a max?
3,000.
3,000, okay.
But ideally, 2,400 watts is what I can do all day long.
Okay.
But microwave's typically short. That's where, like, if the AC's running and it spikes it up to 2,900 watts, I mean, typically you're only running the microwave for a couple minutes. You know, you're not cooking a pot roast in there. Right. You know? So it's fine if you're spiking up close to that 3,000 watt mark for a few minutes.
Derek is a genius, and we really spent a lot of time with him learning the ins and outs of the system, and we are so glad we switched. It doesn't matter how many batteries we have now, we can always add more, but having everything integrated is what we were looking to have done.
I think his work speaks for itself. I mean, it's extremely professional. As you can see, he pulled us out of a severe pickle that we got ourselves into, and now I feel absolutely comfortable getting back on the road, so I can't recommend him enough. If you're looking for something similar, you just want to dip your toes in the water, he can handle something from as small as this to as large as you can possibly think of when it comes to inverters and batteries and solar.
He's so good that he's in such high demand. We have met so many people that have gotten his install and love it. So we will put all of his information in the description below. He has a contact form that you can go on his website and you could enter all of your information, what kind of rig you have, what you're looking to get, what your lifestyle is like on the road. But I would do it sooner than later. Even if you're planning on full timing in like 2026 and you think you want to get a system like this, the
100%.
sooner the better to get on the list, guys. I am so excited to use this.
If you enjoyed this video, head on over to HappilyEverHanks YouTube channel where you'll find hundreds of videos with unforgettable stories you won't want to miss. Subscribe and tap the bell so you'll always be the first to see our latest adventures. Thank you for all your love and support. See you on the next one.